Such a beautiful March afternoon. Isn't it one of the best times to discover a place that you maybe didn't know anything about, such as a city in Western Romania? I am Caterina George, Romanian writer and journalist in the UK, and today I want to invite you to discover my home city of Timisoara. The city is so amazingly alive this Sunday afternoon. It just joys me to see it like this. People everywhere, people with children, in groups of friends. All the terraces are full of them. Oh yes, my city, my home city feels so alive. We are going to start our journey here in the Opera Square, the core of the city, also known as Victory Square, because here all the protests in 1989 took place, which brought to the fall of the dictator and the communist regime. Just behind me, just over there, you can see the old building of the opera, and opposite it I will show you the cathedral, the Orthodox Cathedral, one of the biggest buildings in the country of this type. And I will take you across to the oldest square in the city, named Union Square. And later on, we will discover one of the newest areas of blocks of flats built during the communist era, where I used to live with my grandparents in one of those communist flats. I came over to sit now at one of the most favorite places for rendezvous here in the city center. It's the famous fountain with a fish. People for as long as I've known used to say, "Oh, I'll meet you at the fish," and that's what they meant. But also I want to clarify a mystery that I have seen in other people's blogs, people from the UK mostly, who visited Timisoara. They noticed how many pigeons we have in every square and how fond people are of them. People are just feeding them. Here in this part of Europe, pigeons are not considered a pest. I know my brother used to breed them in our attic, and people were usually really fond of the birds. If you think San Marco Square in Venice, you will find lots of pigeons there as well, won't you? After saying hi to you from my home city of Timisoara and stopping at the fountain with the fish, I just couldn't help it and stopped as well at one of my favorite cake shops in town. It's called Prospero, and it's located just behind the city hall, very close to the Orthodox Cathedral. Unlike other international bloggers who have explored Timisoara, my main interest is presenting it as somebody who has lived here. I'm one of the locals. I have grown up here, went to school, went to university, and I want to show you the city as I have known it from all of the nice cafes and places around the city center, Victory Square, Union Square, all the way back to the communist areas. But before that, this is such a delicious piece of cake with some really nice berry. I bet you can just taste it from watching me eating it. This is the block of flats where I used to live with my grandmother and my granddad from the age of 8, when I came to Timisoara to go to a better school and also because of health reasons. And later on, when we grew up, my brother and I was a student in the university, he was doing his training for professional football here in Timisoara, we also shared this flat. And I only moved out of it when I started to work as a teacher. But today, it's the first time in many, many years that I came back to this area, which is called the area of the sun. My brother tells me that now it has been 19, nearly 20 years since we moved out of this flat when we sold it and out of this area. I just can't believe it. As I have told you, when we moved out of this neighborhood in Timisoara, when we sold the flat, I don't think I have been here ever since really much. Maybe a couple of times, but things have changed so much, especially since we were children here. All of this area, as you can see, is now paved and it's just a little square for everybody to enjoy. But here, the road was passing before, and just in that direction, there was a vegetable market, and also people used to sell here chocolate and sweets brought from Yugoslavia, because in communist times we didn't really have much access to a lot of things in our shops. That's a story that I will tell you in detail in another vlog, but it's changed a lot. It's improved actually. And this school that I will show you in a minute is one of the newest built in the city, with a really big and modern building with a big swimming pool. It's quite famous. This area where I lived with my grandparents as a child is known as the neighborhood of the sun. It has been built late in the 80s on the southeast side of Timisoara, so basically the sun rises over the city from this side. And as I said, it's one of the newest built areas in the communist times. All of these blocks of flats that I've shown you before were built as the dormitories for the big industrial area just nearby, where all the factories, the communist factories, were. But also recently they have built new blocks of flats. And I think this is the reason why all of the newest improvements in the area, why the neighborhood is considered the best one to live in Timisoara. This park, when I first moved to the flat with my grandparents, was just a flat, deserted land. There was not much around, and little by little they started to put trees in it and the benches, and now they have even built a small fountain and a nice playground for the children. So yeah, even when I started to live here, there was still a lot being built. Remember earlier we've been together in a patisserie just here around the city center. Stepping out of it, I came across the bells in the Orthodox Cathedral chiming. That sound brought back some memories, because as I studied theology in the university here in Timisoara, I used to attend every Mass on Sundays unless I visited my parents here in this building. Also, this church is quite special because, according to internet sources, it is the biggest of its type outside of Russia and Georgia. The tallest tower measures 90.5 meters in height, and this building has been built just before the Second World War, 1936-1941. The square between this cathedral and the Opera House has been linked to the protest against the communist regime and the dictator Ceausescu. People died here in 1989 when I was just 12, and I wasn't allowed to come and attend the protests together with my father, obviously. But my father, he was here, luckily not in the nights when the army was just shooting in the population gathered here. But still, in the early 90s, I attended together with my father, my brother, and sometimes my mom as well, the protests against the new communists who took charge of the country after 1989 under a new name, a disguise actually. They were all reformed. Yes, not really. But here in this place we questioned who gave the orders for the army to shoot in the population even after Ceausescu fled and was caught, trialed and shot himself. Here in this square we knelt and prayed for all the people who died in 1989. The weather here in Timisoara has certainly been moody today. As you can see now, it's overcast and there is like a curtain of clouds that maybe they want to rain or maybe they don't want to. You can't tell, but the temperature is pretty pleasant at the moment. Now anyway, what can I expect? It's only March and it's 6 o'clock in the evening. And by this time we have reached the end of our journey together in my home city of Timisoara, which is the Union Square, the oldest square in the city. For me, this place with all the architecture around it, the Catholic Cathedral here and the old Serbian Cathedral opposite it, represents what Banat used to be, a very multicultural place, kind of a, in my mind, European Union before the European Union. The local population here, Romanians, they shared this region with Hungarians, Germans, Serbians, Bulgarians, Jewish people, Gypsy people, even Italians also came and established here. And why did this all happen? It's all in the course of history, because Banat was retaken from the Ottoman Empire sometime in the 18th century by the Austrians. And by that time they were implementing all sorts of innovative, creative, better ways to manage things economically, socially and culturally in their provinces. And Timisoara, as the center of Banat, benefited from this the most. The Romanian population, although being the occupied ones, they could go in the army and they could progress further up the ladder. They could become officers and even generals. And a few Romanian generals became mayors of Timisoara. That was not really very common back then in occupied territories, really. Now, from what I have told you, you can imagine being part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire was quite positive for my home city and the region. There was a lot of investment. They built a lot of factories just outside of the walls that were around the actual city. And that is why many people I know, including myself and some of the friends from the writers group, we have kind of a nostalgia for those times when there was a lot of progress made, when a lot of positive things happened. And we kind of deplore the violent end of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. I know it's a little bit of a utopia. What empire just becomes a great place for everybody who lives in it? Not really in our times and not really in how humanity is going at this moment. How did this day pass? I can't even tell you. Yes, I had a very lovely meal with my poet friends, the ladies of the writers group Pavel Dan, and then I did stop for cake, but I don't know, when things are meaningful, time just goes like crazy sometimes, doesn't it? Well, anyway, before it's getting dark, I have to wrap this video up. There are a lot of things still that I haven't shown you from Timisoara. For example, the fortifications around the old city, also the old factory quarter where they raised the factories during the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the old beer factory, one of the oldest in the country. Yes, there's so much that I have still got to record and show you. For now, from Timisoara, a beautiful, relaxed, nice, warm-ish evening, I will tell you, ciao!